Well, just in this, the comments from this preceding panel, I think we've been given enough material for several other conferences. To begin with, just a few brief comments on some of these. The issue of polyphony, polyphonic choirs versus chant has come up. It's something that's been sort of beneath the surface, and it came up in the panel. That's one possible topic. I think for myself, as someone who also wears the hat of a liturgical scholar, it's something I think that needs to be examined within the context of liturgical form and function. And that's just one brief remark of my own there. I think that's a case where in Greek America there has been a misapplication and a misunderstanding of even the Western model of how chant and polyphony work together. Because chant in the high Western liturgical traditions that are as ancient as our own is the basis of the repertoire. It is the default. It is what you do all the time. And then polyphony is originally something like callophonia. It's something that's added on top as a way of decorating. And I think there's been a fundamental misapplication of that model. So if you don't know how to do the chant first, which is the basic thing to do the services, you really then can proceed on to polyphony if you want for certain purposes. And I think there's a whole way of defending that from the history of Western music and liturgical music as well. The issue of Byzantine music and culture, it's something that was a subject of my paper, the issues of acculturation and so on. There's so much there that multiple conferences to speak about. I just would like to say a very sort of personal remark, though, being someone who is not from the East Coast, from this place of gateway communities, but someone who grew up on the West Coast with much more acculturated communities, multi-ethnic communities that are pan-Orthodox in makeup. And as someone who has a mother who is from an Anglo-Canadian background, a wife who is from an English background, and so on, that this cultural problem is one that really needs to be addressed. It's going to be addressed in the United States from that wider perspective, and remembering that we are in many ways in a missionary situation here. So that is something that has to be taken into account alongside the philological aspect of the importance of the Greek language. I'm very much a supporter of the Greek language, but I think it's a very complex question that is worth several conferences. Finally, to the question of institutional support, which Professor Touliatos and many of the speakers raised in various ways. I think that Professor Kaldiakis made some excellent points about this sort of wide and encyclopedic approach to the problem. And again, that's why conferences like this are a good start, because we really do need to get a dialogue, the synergasia, the working together that Mr. Angelopoulos spoke about, to talk about these things in a wider way. It's something, as Professor Kaldiakis said, that is just in some ways not yet fully formed in Greece as well. I would say that there are other models out there, historical models as well. One of the closest ones, if you want to look at how one could teach music, not Byzantine music specifically, but Orthodox liturgical music in its wider way, was the Moscow Synodal Choir School prior to the Revolution, where they had a curriculum that emphasized liturgics and all the various aspects of music and theology. So there are precedents, and I think this is one of the things where if we have that wider view of the hymnography, wider view of the liturgy, as well as the technical aspects of elxis and tuning and so on, that we can begin to appreciate the role of Byzantine chant in this way that Professor Kaldiakis spoke of that what we talk about so much is just the tip of the iceberg. Thank you.